Welcome, everyone, to episode 34 with a long time awaited guest, Connie Kaplan. Connie, how are you?
I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to
Totally.
have you here.
Took us a long time.
It did. It did take us a long time. And I appreciate your time with me today and with all of our guests. Tell everyone what it is that you do, who you are, a little bit about Connie.
I do not
You're just
now.
you're just awesome for fun.
Well, I'm an immigration attorney and bankruptcy attorney. We have just rebranded, but I've been doing this exclusively for 14 years.
14 years. Yeah. It's a long time. Laws have changed a lot.
Yes, and they change all the time, and keeping up with them, it's a task in and of itself.
Yeah. Tell everybody about this life before these 14 years. Why law? Why immigration?
Oh boy. So let's give you the Cliff's Notes
Yeah.
version. All right, fabulous. So I'm originally from Romania. I came to the United States in 1991. So I'm not going to say my age, but let's just say I had graduated already. And I came here, so I had to do what I had to do in order to work and support myself. It took me 16 years to get my papers.
Mm.
And then the government lost my file, and that was fabulous. And then I had to wait another 5 years to get my citizenship. It's a funny story. I never actually got my green card or to actually see my green card because they did close my file and they never issued anything. But the biggest change in my case was when I hired eventually an immigration attorney.
So you did it by yourself.
I did it by myself because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right. And I think times were different back then, right?
Times were different. We didn't have the internet to look for. You really
Right.
went by what was the word on the street.
Correct.
And you come from a society where the lawyers really work for the government. And
Mm-hmm.
you understand that lawyers here, you could hire them privately and they work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit, it was a learning process. And that's why I do what I do right now, because had I known in the beginning what I learned when I hired my immigration attorney, I would have been so much further along my career, my life, my everything. But yeah, there is a cost associated with opportunity lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear from clients all the time, for example, where they say, well, I don't have a money for an attorney right now. Okay, what did you do back in your country? I was a physician. What do you do here? I make sandwiches. Well, we can get you sooner, faster to practice, to be in the healthcare field, to do what you love doing if
Right.
you have papers. So you would just have to pay to get you there, and time and money and
Mhm.
all that. And I believe in fresh starts. And with both immigration and bankruptcy, I believe I provide my client with a fresh
I
start.
like that. Yeah. That's very kind. It is because I guess I mean, I don't know that I've ever looked at it that way. I've never needed either of those services, but it is a fresh start and giving someone, you know, an opportunity to rebuild again, right? Like,
Yeah, you start from scratch on both,
right.
theoretically. On immigration side, you come to a new country that you don't know. You don't know the culture. You don't know how it is to work here, how it is to go to school here. You don't know how to open a credit card. You don't know
Right.
how to get your name on a lease. You don't know so many of those things. So we do approach our clients holistically, and we have resources for them on how to get those things done that are really outside the immigration process. And on the bankruptcy side, there is stigma attached to it
Mhm.
for some reason. And people look at it as, what is my neighbor going to think and what's my family going to think? Well, first, nobody needs to know.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Really, nobody needs to know. It's nobody needs to know your business. And you're not moving ahead if you're moving backwards or you're stuck in place and just treading water.
Mhm.
And there is no stigma attached to it unless you choose to tell people that you have filed for bankruptcy. How are they going to know?
Right.
I mean, nobody sits out there looking at the government rolls to see who filed for bankruptcy this week.
Right. Right. That's very interesting. What did you do prior to becoming an attorney?
Oh, that. Oh, yes. It's a good thing you keep me on track.
Yeah.
So I came here, I had electrical engineering as a background. And then I came here, I did a million odd jobs until I was able to go to school and get further education. And for some reason, math and physics apparently are different in Romania than they are in US, and they wouldn't accept my degree fully. So I had to go and get another degree. I got another business degree, which I got in 16 months.
Hmm.
And that was later, though. And then between the time I arrived and then the time I went to law school, I did disaster recovery for IT on Wall Street.
Wow.
Yeah, I handled 400 plus server farms, recover data, and all that.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm very technically inclined. So everything in my head is if and then statements. So
Right.
for every single client, I'm like, if we do this, then what is going to happen? And I think 10 steps ahead. Doesn't always agree with what they think should happen.
Right.
But
Well, I'm sure that approach to law in both scenarios,
Mhm.
right? It's in the client's benefit for sure because you kind of have a strategy for any outcome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not any outcome because you end up before an immigration officer or
Sure.
an immigration judge or a trustee in bankruptcy, and
Right.
you don't know
It's
what
all out
they
the
are
window.
thinking.
Right.
It's all out the window. And especially in immigration where any benefit is discretionary.
Hmm.
Yeah, immigration is not a right. Immigration is a benefit. So if the officer doesn't believe you, doesn't want to give it to you, you're just not going to get it, no matter how much you dot your I's or cross your T's.
Hmm. That's interesting. Can we offset? We're going to go back to the pivoting part, but since you're talking about this being a benefit, can we talk about this 90-day fiance stuff?
Oh, please.
Does that are like that's real?
No.
Like people don't come here trying that?
Well, define to me people, define to me
Like
coming here.
Like coming into the US to marry someone
Of course
for
they do.
okay.
Of course they do. People will use, no joke, every avenue possible to come to the United States. There is an American dream, and
Yeah.
everybody still dreams that.
Right.
Regardless of what you hear
Sure.
in other mediums. There is an American dream. The American dream is alive and well. I mean, you're a business owner. I'm a business owner. Obviously, we can attest to the American dream being a possibility. And everybody from abroad wishes for a better life. Some of them do escape persecution in their
Right.
countries, escape trafficking, escape other situation. But most come here for a better life. So 90-day fiance, of course, people take advantage of the tools available to them
Right.
today. Online dating is a real thing. There are things called international marriage brokers. Don't do that. But yeah, they come and they go through the process. Just to get here on a fiancé visa could take 9 months to a year and a half. That tests a relationship.
Right. Right.
And then you come here and there is a culture shock for people from most countries.
Right.
And then it's not just culture shock. Sometimes you have to come and live with your loved one that you never lived with. That's difficult even if you're from the same background.
Right.
Sometimes you have to live with their family as well, not just your
can't
loved
work.
one. And you
Right.
can't work so that it's financially strenuous. And do sometimes the US citizens feel like they're being taken advantage of? Yes, and sometimes rightfully so. That's not usually the case, though.
Mhm.
But what you're talking about is TV, and there is TV, and there is
It's
life,
Right. Right.
and life is not what's
That's that was the question. And then when it's the other way too. Like when I see when I see people going to the other countries and giving up their like pensions and their things all for love. It's like, wow.
Well, you don't really, as a U.S. citizen, generally, you can live anywhere else pretty much. There are countries where you need, you do have to apply for visas, you have to apply for permanent residency in those countries. But as a U.S. citizen, you can move abroad, and as long as you keep your citizenship, you still have to pay your taxes.
You have to pay your tax. I learned that.
Yes, you do. But you're not giving up pensions. You're not giving up Social Security. There are people who repatriated, for example, Colombia, Romania, whatever,
Mhm.
and they are still collecting their Social Security and their pensions and whatever because they put money in.
Mhm.
But for that, they do have to be able to be a citizen and go through that process.
Very interesting. Very interesting stuff. And I know that the show I recently had someone in real estate here, and it's kind of the same thing, right? Like those Netflix selling Los Angeles, selling, it makes real estate so glamorous, but that's so hard. Being a good high producing realtor is not easy,
Nope.
right? And just like this process, this 90-day fiance thing, like the show, like put a light on it, like it's not that big of a deal, but it's a much more complicated
It's a big
process.
deal, and
Yeah,
it's
it
an
is.
expensive process,
Yes.
and it's a emotionally charging
Yeah.
process. There are other avenues, okay? Sometimes you're better off just getting married, bringing them as your spouse,
Right.
rather than going the fiancé way. But if you feel you need the 90-day period to know if this is the right person for you, or if they can adjust well in their life with you, or the life within the United States, then yeah,
Take it. Yeah. All right. Well, this isn't going to be about 90-day fiance. So,
sad.
um, can you tell me about the mindset that you had to come to the decision of pivoting in your career? What did that feel like?
Let me describe my decision making
Mm-hmm.
process, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this to be a pattern in my life. Um, Once I make the decision, the process is easy. Making the decision, it's what's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were to liken this to, say, an airplane in the air, okay? At some point, you're circling, you're not allowed to land, or you don't know where you're supposed to land, you're running out of gas. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision or else.
Right.
So when you make that decision, makes a big difference, because just like an airplane, if you're going to run out of gas, it really doesn't matter how long that runway is. Okay, you're gonna, when you get there, you'll find out. Um, but you might have choices for different airports that are better, bigger, if you have a little bit more gas left. So it's always best to make the decision as soon as you know you need to make a decision, rather than dwelling over it and dwelling over
I'm a
it.
dweller.
I'm a dweller. But I have learned, and in time I have gotten better. I don't circle the airport too much. Um, when I make a decision, I need to decide, where do I want to be, why do I want to be there, and what am I going to achieve when I get there? And then what are the steps that are going to get me there? It's not the steps that are the problem for me, is deciding on what I want. And that's such a difficult decision for everyone. And it's so individual to everyone. Um, and every decision is different. There are no two decisions alike. So when I decided to come to the United States, was one thought process. When I decided to change fields and go into IT, was a totally different process. And then I burnt out, yes, medically, physically. And then I said, oh, let me do something that is going to allow me to, not work for a couple of years and just learn. And after you've been on call 24/7 and getting sick, and doing that for a long period of time, life was a breeze.
I was gonna say, I like how you're like, I need something that's not gonna burn me out. Let me become a lawyer.
I know.
That's
What was I thinking?
Is that how bad it was?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. But it comes to a point where even something that you enjoy is no longer enjoyable. And you just need to know when you get there, and then just pick something, do something. And having had my experience as an immigrant, I knew that when I graduate, I wanted to do immigration. So I graduated, and then I was admitted to the bar, and I opened my firm.
So you opened immediately?
Immediately.
You didn't work for anybody else?
Nope.
Okay, talk to us about that. Because every attorney that I've had in that seat, always their story has been big law, hated it, started my own.
Or they went with the government, working
Right.
state attorney's office, public defender's office. Nothing wrong with those amazing experience that they get. That was not me.
Okay.
I'm probably a terrible employee, to be honest. Okay.
Well, at least you recognize it.
Well, not according to my performance evaluations back then, but but I was probably a terrible employee because I like to make decisions. I like to run with my decisions. I don't necessarily like people second guessing me. So, yay, opened my own firm as soon as I graduated, and That's probably the best decision I ever done. You control who you help.
Mhm.
You select your own clients.
Mhm.
Um, you change lives. You change lives. And you control how you change their life versus somebody else telling you what you need to do to change their life.
And I know, because I know you personally, but our audience doesn't know this. I know that you are very big into technology. You're very big into the business of running a business.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're fascinated by that. You've presented to our Miss Esquire group several times on that. You're always like, Connie's the numbers person, right? That's going to teach us on our numbers. Talk to me about that process of building a niche and the marriage to the automation. What's your advice? So the premise of this podcast is for new business owners, no matter the industry, right? So, I like already how you're explaining things, because it's a thought process thing. It's not industry specific. So that thought process of like choosing a niche, obviously it's very personal to you. But just talk about that. How have you made such a niche, law firm flourish?
Well, let's just say I tried family law for a while and I said never again.
That
Okay.
talk about burned out and drama.
Yeah, not talking about that. So, for every business, right, you need to know what is it that you are what problem you're solving,
Right.
whose problem you're solving. And then you need to know who your ideal client is, what you expect to do for them. How are you going to change their life? And what do you need to do in your life and in your business to make sure you get them what you're promising them, right? Or what you hope to promise, when what you hope they hire you to do. So you need to know who your ideal audience is.
Mhm.
You need to know, for example, right? I am an attorney doing immigration in South Florida. I don't speak Spanish, right? Not going to market probably to the Spanish speaking population. And there are so many qualified, amazing immigration attorneys out there who speak their language. And sometimes clients are hung up on that. And
Sure.
that's okay. That is not my client. Are 60% of my clients Spanish speakers? Yes, they are. But that's because of where we are, not because of me targeting them. But when you're looking at how do you focus on immigration or bankruptcies, like what is it that people are struggling with right now?
Mhm.
And immigration has always been my thing. And now I'm seeing that some of my immigration clients are struggling financially. SB 1718 last year didn't help the immigration population. So some of them moved outside the state of Florida. Those that remained here are struggling because instead of having 2-3 incomes in one household, they are down to one income, but they are afraid to file for bankruptcy because they think, for example, they are not U.S. citizens and they cannot file for bankruptcy, but they can. They can, absolutely can. So I need to educate my market. So that's first. Know who your market is, then educate your market. Sometimes people don't know what they need. You just need to tell them. Sometimes they think entering into credit counseling or one of those credit repair things, it's the best thing for them. Maybe. But unless you know all your options, then you're not making an educated decision. So my job is to educate my clients. But in terms of niching, how do you pick that? I saw that, for example, the foreclosure filings are going up, garnishments are going up, the number of filings for bankruptcy it's trending up. So yes, that's something that I can help my current clients with. I can help other people who are my clients know with. And if there is a demand, why not fill the demand? So that's the way you do it. And once you know who your ideal client is, how do you market to them, right? And what avenues? Where are your clients? Where is that ideal client? We all say, every business says, oh, that's my avatar. Your what? No, it's you can have an avatar, but not everybody's going to look like that, okay? So where are you finding your clients? Where are your clients looking for information? Some of them might listen to a podcast because they have their headset on all the time, so they're listening to podcasts. Others, they cannot do that at work. So then I have to decide, is my client one who's going to listen to audio, or is my client going to be one watching YouTube all the time because they can have it on another screen? They do it while they're at work, let's face it.
Right.
Of course. So where are you going to market depends on where your client is. And then how much money are you spending on that marketing? Is that marketing channel going to give you the revenue that you need in order to pay the employees, to have the profit margin, to build a business? How much money you're spending on that channel? What's your return on investment? What's your return on ad spend? And are you tracking the numbers? That's the biggest thing that I see on every single business
Everybody
owner.
does it, but doesn't track it. Well, not everybody does it. First of all, no.
No, I
People
know.
do it.
I also know plenty of business owners who do track, but they don't know what to do with the data once they track
Correct.
it, or they don't know what to track, or they track certain things and then they make decisions too soon without having all the information, or they let it go too long because they can't make a decision. So let's say, for example, we have a business owner who wants to spend money on YouTube ads, for argument's sake, right? And they said, out of $500 that I'm going to spend on YouTube ads, which are not expensive, let's say $500, they expect to get 3 clients at $1,500 each. Whatever, okay? That's their thing. So it's 10 times ROI. Well, if you're only going to give it 2 weeks,
Right.
it's not going to happen. And how much content are you willing to put out to have content for the ads, to have the ads running to your channel, to go through that? And 500 is only the budget, right? So you're doing videos, you're recording the videos. There is a cost associated with the equipment. You have to have some marketing assistant that's going to push this content out,
Mhm.
that's going to brand your videos, edit your videos, right? So there is a cost associated with that. So by the time we are adding the budget and we are adding the cost, all the ancillary costs to that, direct mailing, same thing. The postage is going to cost you. No matter which one you look at, you're doing networking, the cost of the networking is money, right?
And that one might be even harder to track because of your time, the time invested.
But there is a value that's
Correct.
attached to your hours
Mhm.
because we all, no matter who you are, what you do, we all have 168 hours every week. That's it.
Mhm.
How you choose to spend that 168 hours, it's what's going to differentiate you from the next person. So if you are spending, for argument's sake, $1,000 on membership into one networking group, and you have to go to a lunch, and then you have to go to do other luncheons with people and one-to-ones, and you have to referrals back and forth,
And you have to hold
and
a position.
emails, and you
Yeah.
have to hold a position. You do really need to track not only the cost, the gas, the tolls.
Mhm.
You have
Parking.
you have to track the parking, but your time.
Time. Mhm.
So I can go to an hour lunch and spend whatever it's on that hour. But if I'm only counting the 1 hour and I'm not counting the 1 hour before and the 1 hour after that it takes me to get to said lunch, then I don't have an accurate picture of what that particular referral group does for me, right?
That's actually why I at our other agency, we were a part of a BNI, and it worked for us well at that
Yeah.
point in our career. But for me in this role, the weekly thing, I just couldn't do it.
Right.
I just can't. For me, it does. I don't have the time commitment to do it.
I have done BNI. BNI was great when it was.
But it was right.
And then it comes to a point when it no longer works. And it no longer works, not necessarily because you're not getting the referrals or you're not giving the referrals, or because the networking group is not the right group. It's because you have evolved to a point where your hourly rate and your time is valued more than it was when you started.
Mhm.
And when you value your time and you put a cost to that time, you put a dollar amount to that time. Well, all of a sudden now you know how much a lead is costing.
Correct.
And, if you get a client that's $3,000 overall value for that client, right? And you spend $2,000 on getting that one client, it's not worth it. Even if you spend $300, might be worth it, might not be worth it. It depends on where you are.
What is the easiest way? So we've all been there, right? The new business owner that it's all expenses, money is only leaving. You know, that time period of you got to write everything that comes in through the door because you have to keep the lights on. What is your best piece of advice to help them maneuver that beginning stage of like hungry, maybe not sticking to your avatar that you've created, right? Maybe at that time the avatar is like best case scenario, but you have a couple of like low hanging fruit clients that you could take. Like, You know that feeling. We've all been there, right? What is the best piece of advice you would have for them?
So let me give you an example, right? And it's a joke, and we hear it all the time, and I'm sure you heard it. You have a client who paid you $500, and the next thing you know, it's sending you an email that says, "This is my entire life savings. This is all I have. So I expect you to communicate with me every 2 minutes, and I expect you to hold my hand, and I expect you to do this. I expect you to change my life." And you have the $50,000 client who says, "Check sent, let me know when done."
Mhm.
Which one would you rather have?
Mhm.
Because even if, let's say, it's a lack of education on both parts,
Mhm.
because both clients should be involved in their case no matter how you look at it, but to a certain extent. But then they should allow you to make a decision. So you need to know, are you spending the right amount of time for a client? And yes, you may be desperate. Yes, you may need to put money in the bank so you can meet payroll.
Mhm.
Okay. Or holidays are coming and people choose to spend on their Christmas gifts instead of their green cards. It is what it is. People are human. Okay. We all make human decisions, human errors, human whatever, and decisions make on our own circumstances. But you need to know that every single client that you take on a desperate moment, it's going to be horrible.
It's going to cost you.
It's going to cost you. And it's not because the client is going to be horrible. It's because you may have taken, in my case, for example, a case that I may not be extremely familiar with, or a case, which I don't do, but, a case that it requires a lot more resources that you are willing to allocate. A case where the client didn't have money and you give them a payment plan, they're going to pay it in 10 months. Well, that doesn't help you right now when you need to meet the payroll anyway.
Right.
So why do it?
So why dedicate that amount of
Why
time?
do it?
Yeah.
Because you still need to pay your team. So you are stressing on your team that the work still needs to be done. You're getting them more cases, but then you're not actually, you're not making anything on that. And it's, as much as I'd like to feel all altruistic and doing
Yeah, no.
all for the client and doing all that, I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to my family
Mhm.
to put food on my table. I have a responsibility to my employees' families to put food on their table. And nothing bugs me more sometimes than having a client say, "Well, I can't afford to pay that because I didn't get a raise in 3 years." I'm so sorry you work for an employer who doesn't give you raises every 3 years, but I care about my team, and my team is being paid
Mhm.
on market or above the
Mhm.
market. And because they are good at what they do, I love my team. I want my team to be happy. And in order for them to be happy, I need to charge you. So it's going to cost X. Or lawyers are money hungry. That's what you get
Oh,
next.
100%.
And it's okay.
That's the next.
But
Yeah.
but
Okay.
let
I
them
mean, you still need me.
but yeah, but they are entitled to their opinion.
Right.
And that's
Right.
okay. Don't let it bother you.
I know, because I know you personally, I know how dedicated and focused you are to client experience.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that. What does client experience mean to you? Is-
Under promise and over deliver, but that's such a cliche. So well, let's focus on that for a second. It starts with the first interaction that the client has with your firm. And are we perfect? No, by any means, by all means. My God, things break all the time. But whatever the first impression the client has, be that your marketing, your website, your video, whatever it is that prompted them to call you, you need to make sure that they get the same experience on their first interaction. Whether that is the web form they fill out, the first phone call they make to the office. Are we listening to them? Yes, sometimes they say, "I don't understand why you're asking me all these questions," because I want to make sure that, one, we are the right firm for you. Two, that we can help you. Well, I only have a simple question. For me to answer that simple question, I need to ask you about 100 questions. Not me, whoever is answering the phone.
Right.
But their experience on that phone call needs to be the same that they had on when they went to the website or they saw the ad. And then, assuming they meet with me, they schedule the time, I meet with them. I need to provide the same consistent message. Yes, we can help you, or no, we can't help you, whatever that is. And if I can help you, and I promise that as soon as I'm done with my call, you are going to get X, which could be a free resource, could be an agreement, could be whatever, then if I tell you that I'm sending it to you in an hour, I better have it within an hour. If my team tells them that I'm going to send you a link for a payment and I'm going to send you a free resource, or I'm going to send you a referral to another attorney because this is not something we do, we need to make sure that that gets sent. And not only that, we need to make sure the referral source knows, the referral that we are sending them to know, that everybody knows that this person was taken care of. And have you called that person? We actually make a follow-up call, for example, to make sure that they got in touch with the person we sent them to. And it does happen. It happened, for example, a year ago. We had a very good relationship with another provider. It wasn't an attorney, and we kept referring people there. And 3 people in a row said, we left messages, didn't call back. We actually had to reach out to that person, and it turned out his spouse passed away. So he was grieving, going through something difficult, and we get even more referrals from that person now because we were there for them when they needed us. And we took care of those 3 clients that complained, and rightfully so. And that's the way you continue. And we continue that throughout the entire client's case. The paralegals, the legal team needs to make sure that the work is handled the same way. Now, obviously, we cannot have a hands-on approach every minute, all the time.
But that's why the first thing that I heard you say that stood out to me was that fact of involved in your client experience is also the client pre-qualification.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not for every client. So you already know the level of experience you expect your team to give and that you provide. So in order to do that, you need to qualify the client.
Yes.
So those kind of go hand in hand. You almost can't do one without the other, because it's impossible when you're giving such a high level of service to do it in bulk, really, right? It's difficult.
And when the client doesn't understand that I need to ask a million questions in order for me to give them a quote, and I can't do that for free because I need to look at this much paperwork,
right?
Then he's not the right client for me.
Right.
Just isn't.
That's. I think that's even though we've been doing this for a while, that's something I've gotten really good at recently. Is that, and I think it ties back to also knowing your hourly rate. When something comes across my desk, I'm like, okay, but instead of looking at premium, I look at revenue, right? Like, how much is my office making? Because like I have employees now, like I have other mouths to feed, and so it's like, for the level of service, what is the potential? And for me, honestly, it's, do I like them?
It is.
Because some people, they're difficult off the start. Interaction number 1.
True.
True. You know the vibe.
Absolutely.
So I'm just like,
Yes. Yes, but there are people who they expect it for free. They expect an attorney to answer the phone. Who on earth wants an attorney who's not busy and is ready there to answer the phone calls? I don't understand that.
Right.
I don't think I will ever understand that, but so be it.
What do you mean I have to talk to a paralegal? What? Oh, you think I'm picking up my own phone as an attorney? Come on.
I just can't. I'm away.
Baffling.
I'm in court. I don't control my own calendar either. It's just not going to happen. It just can't happen. So that I will never understand, but to each his own. So
well, but that alone is a barrier for those people.
That alone is a barrier. Also, because I am so much into tech and automations, and we do all that, and it is set up, and it's working 99% of the time, but not all the time. And people assume that they're not going to get a personalized service, but that's not the case. If I were to charge for every single time a client wants us to talk to them, and some would not be automated back, and it would be an actual person, they couldn't pay our fees. They couldn't afford our fees. They already say they can't. But fees for immigration, particularly, are not inexpensive. Let's put it
Not
this way.
right.
Lawyers are not cheap,
Right.
okay? And you get what you pay for.
Mhm.
Lo barato sale caro. Okay?
There you
It's
go.
the only
That's the
thing I know in Spanish, okay?
That's the Spanish, I
That's-
love that.
But you see that, and you see that a lot. The problem is, I have people who have tried to do their case on their own, or they went to a notario, or whatever, and that's okay. That's what they had at the time. But then they get denials. And remember when I said there is cost associated with opportunity lost? If you delayed your case by a year or 2 years, how much money did you lose because you didn't have a work permit, or you
Right.
didn't have the residency, or you didn't have this? You would have made those lawyer fees tenfold
Mhm.
if you would have spent the money in the beginning, because now you still have to spend it because I need to
Right.
fix it. And most of the time, I can't even fix it. Because with immigration is once you're done, you're done. So it really depends on how bad you screwed up.
That concept of the delay of time, it's almost like just the cost of inaction is severe, and it's really unlimited. Like, you don't know how much it can be. You can only, like, really guess it. But in those cases, how long does it? I mean, I know this question varies, but like on a easy vanilla immigration case, what is the average time?
What's an easy vanilla immigration
I
case? I'm
know.
sorry.
I
what?
realize that question, but like when you say, the people that try it on their own and it could take 2-3 years and they get denied, but as opposed to what, 9 months, 12 months?
Most processes in immigration, there are no ways to speed them up. Most. There are some where there are options for expedited processing, which cost a fortune. But most processes don't have that option. So once you've been through the process and you screwed up,
Right.
in some cases, you really need to start from scratch. So whether that took 6 months or 6 years, you still need to start from scratch. So can you really afford
Right.
to do that? And why would you put yourself through that?
Right.
Full disclosure, I've done that because I didn't know what I didn't know, which is we are back to the educational moment where I'm educating my client that you do need a lawyer. Okay.
And it's so it the fact that you've lived it shows even more that first of all, you've lived it on both sides. You have fought for the people to get it, and then also you've been one that had no help, had nobody fighting for them,
Right.
and then had to pay to get. I mean, you've literally been in every step of the process.
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a tangent question, just off my own mind. But I did want to circle back to that client experience because I know, and you said that you're super focused on tech. How do you deliver that balance of human and tech? What do you think?
You love your husband very much and you want to take him to dinner, but you're not going to always show him you love him by taking him to dinner. Sometimes you're going to leave him a note. Sometimes you're going to buy them a gift. Sometimes you are It's very similar with the client experience. Communicate the important stuff with the client, the life-changing stuff, updates in their case, things that are moving or shifting the direction that we need to go into, and communicate that and do that. Email immediately with a follow-up, with a call, because they are going to have a million questions
Correct.
from that email.
That kind of goes back to your mindset, which is why you're so good at this, because of how you think, right? Like the if and the then.
I've been in their shoes.
Exactly. So they're going to.
I get an email from my lawyer, I'm freaking out.
Right.
Okay.
And you're going to
I'm
call with
panicking.
questions, right?
I'm calling.
And they're going to get upset when they say you have to book an appointment.
But no, we are going to, by the time the client gets the email, we already know what we need to tell them. We send them the email. The minute we get notification that they opened it, those still allow us to see it. We allow them a few minutes to digest it, then we call. So that is automated. There are other standard notifications. Some immigration cases don't have an update for months. Every single month, they get an automated email that says, we check the status of your case, because we do check, but then it's automated to send a message out. If it changed, it goes into a different queue. But they do get an update. That alone eliminated about 85% of the call volume of, where's my case? What's going on with my case? I haven't heard from you guys in a while. They can't say they haven't heard from us. We are bombarding them with information. Some of them, then they unsubscribe from our newsletters because they get too many, or they get between the newsletters and the case updates and regular updates and all they think it's too much. And then they're like, well, you haven't communicated with me. Well,
let me teach you a word.
yes. How about we subscribe you back in?
Yeah.
Okay. Or how about we create a separate email address from you for all the emails from the lawyer? We actually do create that for some of the clients. We actually say emails from Connie. Okay. So this way they know to that email address. You don't need to check it all the time, but at least check it once every few days. And you know they are from us. If you see an email from there, please don't delete.
You see how deep the education goes?
Oh, yeah. And we don't always do email because sometimes email is full, bounces back, especially on victims of abuse cases. They really like change their whole identities. It's difficult. But we send SMS, text, voicemail, email, portal messages, you name it, they got it. But we have a lot of automation.
Right. So it's a little bit, for me, I feel like it's, and I don't know I don't know how you shop as a consumer, right? For me, I like the technology piece. I like the ease of using technology, but when I have questions, even if I use Google, even if I use ChatGPT, I still want to speak to a human.
Yes.
So it's like that balance of offloading the FAQs, we know you're thinking this, the technology being an enhancer to the experience, but it cannot be the experience.
And it cannot be the full replacement to the experience.
Correct.
Because then you are no better than those application aggregators. I mean, there are a few of them. They say, oh, they can get your green card done for $900. Oh, great. Go get it. Okay.
Who would actually like?
You'd be surprised.
No, I know.
Okay.
No. It's just baffling.
Okay.
Like it's too good to be true.
Well, they don't think so, but that's okay.
That's wild.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild that you would risk it all to come here to this country and then.
But let's give you an example, right? So these people say they'll get you a green card for $1,000. Okay. Could be less. But let's say a green card, it's $1,000. And I have a specific website in my mind that does that. Okay. Let's say my service is $5,000. The client is not educated enough to compare. They don't know what they should be getting as a service. They don't know what peace of mind looks like knowing somebody takes care of it. They think, I need somebody to fill out a bunch of forms for me. My gosh.
So much more.
There are so many landmines on every single question on said forms, and some forms have 21 pages. Okay, and for one green card application, you could be well into the 60 to 100 pages. Okay, just forms without evidence. Okay, and then they compare 1,000 with 5. What they don't compare with is, oh my God, what if something goes wrong and I need to spend 10,000 at the end to try to fix this? How much time and money am I losing then? If I can even fix it.
Right. At least starting, it's a fair game.
Yeah.
After it's gone wrong, to spend the money to then still just get declined is.
And back to your question with expedited processing, can the lawyer make it go faster? Most of the time, no. But the way we make it go faster is by submitting very complete application packages the first time. That avoids, for example, immigration requests for evidence. When you're filing a bankruptcy case, submit everything, including all the clarifications that you possibly could, so the trustee doesn't have questions. You are avoiding mistakes and delays by having the government go back and forth a couple of times. That's where you're saving. That's where your money is.
Right. That's where it's worth the upcharge. If you want to call it that. It's not an upcharge. It's just a professional. It's worth the professional guiding you.
I can operate. I mean, I could operate on myself too, but should I? It's the same thing, right?
I would say no. I mean, you probably could, but you definitely should.
I mean, I can watch a YouTube video, right? I can probably do it or self-medicate, but should I? I could, right? I mean, we're both on TikTok. I can go on TikTok and see this. Oh my God, you should take this whatever vitamin.
Listen.
I don't know how that vitamin works with my blood pressure medication. So should I really do it? I don't know. Let me watch a YouTube or see a doctor.
if TikTok tells me that my cortisol is high one more time, that's all it's telling me. Your
What's it
cortisol,
telling you?
that your cortisol is high.
Oh.
That's all the videos of TikTok is. You have high cortisol. That's why your face is puffy. I'm pretty sure it's because I eat a lot. Just saying. Um,
We
last
must
question.
get the same video.
Yeah, yeah. And forget it. We're gonna get them all now too, because they're listening. The last question, because I know that we've talked about like you're changing careers, the niche, your client experience, the technology. Talk about your building SOPs for your staff. How do you do it? What is the best piece of advice to that new business owner that just is lost, doesn't know where to start?
I don't care if it's a new business owner, old business owner,
Correct.
you've been in business forever. Because if you've been in business forever, at some point you want to sell your business.
Right.
Or you want to have something you leave your family or whatever it is. They are not going to know how you've done business, how you operate, or how you think to understand why a certain process is in place unless you tell them. Nobody's up here. Nobody's in your mind. I had my daughter work for me for a while, right? And she's my daughter and she knows me. I mean, she can interpret me, okay? She can't
She speaks
translate.
Connie.
She speaks Connie, okay? But yet she doesn't think the way I do, okay? So I have made it a habit and I'm working and on getting it even better, but because I'm not perfect at it, okay? Preaching to the choir here, preaching to myself. Whenever somebody is asking me a question, instead of giving them the answer, first ask, what have you done about this so far? Have you done your research? What have you tried? How did you try to figure this out on your own? And what your source is? Especially in legal, you need to tell me the source, okay? And no, we cannot use ChatGPT for that, thank you. And then, once they did that, I may give you the answer. But when I give you the answer, I record it. I record on Loom video or I record an audio and then it does automatic transcription for me. Zoom does that. You can record yourself on Zoom while sharing the screen and showing your steps. And Fathom, who's attached to Zoom, I'm not proposing either one of them. There are a million tools out there. I'm not endorsing any. That's what I use this month. I don't know what I'll use next month. But they give you a summary. They give you step by step. You can do. There are AI tools out there that you can put a script in and it will draw a mind map that will tell you where you need to do and how to do this. Okay. So there are no excuses for not having standard operating procedures in place. Oh, but where do I start? Well, there are 7 parts to a business, right? So start from the top. Who you are, what you think, what you want to achieve, right? That's one. Then you need to focus on marketing because without marketing, you don't have sales. You can't have sales without people. Once you're selling, you need to have production. You need to have the factory where you're creating all this, which includes what kind of scanner am I having and what's the setting on the printer that I need to have for a package, right? And those things, right? And financials and the bookkeeper and the accountant and all that. But I'm not going to have the same conversation with the bookkeeper twice because I'm recording I'm recording my instructions once and I better not get another questions from that. I expect them to see the video before they are coming to me with another question. Everything needs to be documented. Start simple. What are the top 10 policies or procedures that your firm needs to know? How do we interact with an existing client? How do we interact with a new client? How do we interact with a referral source, a vendor, a referring attorney, a judge, right? How do we interact with those? What is the process in place for each single one of them? Do we use a script or we don't use a script? Do we escalate to the attorney or we don't escalate to the attorney? Okay? And how do you provide the same experience to the client over and over and over again by having standard operating procedures? Standard that they all have to follow.
So how do you hold your team accountable to that?
They have KPIs in place.
Okay.
They have KPIs in place. So let's give an example.
Yeah.
The marketing person needs to produce a certain number of leads every single month from this source, from this source, from this source, from this source. It is up to them to prove to me that they have met their numbers. Those leads turn into prospective clients, qualified prospective clients, new clients.
And you need to define that.
You need to define that. What is it and what makes a client somebody who calls a lead. What makes
Right.
someone a lead? Qualified prospective client, and what will get this prospective client to sign on the line which is dotted, right? So you need to qualify that for them. And how many do they need to do in order for us to meet the revenue goal, which in turn is going to make us meet
So you have to work it backwards.
payroll?
Right.
Everything you have to work backwards.
have to work it
You have to
backwards.
backwards
Right.
engineer everything.
So when you think of how many clients or your revenue goal, you need to target it on client size, right? On
Yes.
average. And then you need
What
this
is-
many clients.
Right. So let's say, for argument's sake, simple number, say you want $100,000 this month. Okay. What's your average case value?
Mhm.
You say my average case value is $10,000. That means you need to get 10 clients. Well, okay. Now, not every single client is going to be 10,000. Some of them may be 7. Then you need a few of them that are going to be 12, or you need to make up for that. So the salespeople need to know what those numbers are. They need to track it, and they need to know it all the time, because at the end of the month, they need to report it, right? Then you need to know how many consultations do you have.
Right.
What is my conversion rate
Correct.
as the salesperson? Because I'm the one that meets with every single prospective client, right? At this point. And well, they sometimes meet with a financial consultant on the bankruptcy, but on the immigration, let's stick with one, right? Then I meet with them, but my conversion rate is not 100% because not every client is the right client for me. Sometimes I'm not the right attorney for them. Sometimes it's something I cannot help no matter how much I try. Sometimes they don't have options, whatever it is. So let's say it's 60%, right? Obviously, for me to get 10 cases a month, I need to see a lot more than that. I don't even know what the number is. Right. But let's say I need to see 20, for argument's sake. That's 50%, not 60. But let's say I need to see 20 people. That means 20 booked consultations, legal strategy sessions need to be on my calendar every calendar month in order for me to have a shot at meeting my goal. So
how many conversations is that?
How many that would be 20 conversations that I need to have, 20 legal strategy sessions that my sales team needs to put on my calendar, sell legal strategy sessions. But their conversion rate is not 100% because they need to qualify the people. Let's say they're qualifying 50%. Then they themselves need to have the 40 leads. Mm-hmm. So that tells my marketing person, then they need to give me 40 leads. But those are just hypothetical numbers, have nothing to do with anything. But you need to reverse engineering.
That is the level of detail. I think that's...
Oh, no, it goes so much deeper than that. So those 40 on marketing, well, I expect 3 from referral sources, 5 from AdWords, 4 from YouTube, 2 from Ciara. You get the idea. And
wow, I don't do that. I don't do it that deep.
Oh, but you need to. How do you know where to spend next month your time and your money and your energy on? Mm-hmm. How do you know that your efforts have produced the result or not? Because you need to track your ROI on per source.
Right.
Per source. You need to, are you going to have a listing on, I don't know, insurancebrokers.com coming up? I don't know anything about your field. If you're going to have that listing and you're spending $500 a month on that, how many months are you going to sink $500 in that unless you're tracking? Are you asking every single person calling your office, how did you hear about?
Yeah, we do that. But
what if they tell you, I'm from Google, I just Googled you?
I'll put it, I categorize that in my CRM as website lead, as an internet lead.
How did they find your website?
I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't have it that chewed up. I have internet or website.
Did you ever ask them? Did you ever ask them?
What did you search?
What did you search
No.
for? Why not?
I should.
Because not everybody's searching commercial insurance near me who does best malpractice policies with, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Ask them what they searched. Did they use Google? Did they use Bing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or Safari or whatever? What did they use?
That is so, and it's so interesting. It's so fascinating. And I feel like they don't teach this anywhere. Like,
no,
they don't. I mean, I guess this information's on YouTube, right? If somebody went looking for it enough, right? And I just think that's really the premise of why I'm doing this. And like you said, it's new in business or old in business. The business landscape has changed so much with the rise of social media, with this idea that now to be an attorney, to be an insurance agent, you have to be a content creator. Like that idea is wild.
I talked to so many attorneys and they're like, but I don't need to do any of this. I have enough clients. That is very attorney centric, that answer.
Mm-hmm.
The way I see it is I need to grow because I need to change more lives. I need to help more immigrants out there. I need to provide a fresh start for more people. This is not about me. I'm fine where I am. That's not about that. Should I grow or I shouldn't grow? Yeah, maybe one year I don't want to grow a little bit too aggressively because maybe I need a break. Maybe I need whatever, but then I really don't feel good about it because I could have changed so many more families' lives. When I get residency for one client, it's not just him that's affected, it's their entire immediate
Right.
family, sometimes extended family. Um, bankruptcy, right? I mean, somebody, their spouse died, and all of a sudden they lost not only the main income of the house, they're saddled with bills, and they have medical bills from,
They could have lost their insurance too. Yeah.
could have lost. I mean, you're looking at that, they can't even see past the grief. And you
Right.
need to get them to the point where, let me allow you at least financially to start from a point of zero.
Right.
You don't start treading water from the negative, you know?
Yeah. That's super powerful. And I agree. I mean, I love that. And I think that shows to your core who you are, right? Like it's more you're in this industry and in this field, in this niche because you care, right? It's not because I don't even know. Maybe it's not even the one that pays the most as an attorney, right? But like it's really because you care.
We are the most broke.
Yeah. God, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry that you care more than you want to make money.
Well, it's not that. It's not that.
Oh, I know.
If you look,
Right.
if you look at the
Statistically. Right.
statistics, yeah.
Right. Can I ask you a question selfishly? How do you hold people accountable to those KPIs without micromanaging? Or do you micromanage? I don't know.
I don't micromanage.
So how do you do that?
They choose to manage themselves.
Mhm.
Okay? It is their job to manage themselves. So these are the goals that you need to meet. I am not going to ask you, have you met them every 3 minutes? If I see that things are not okay, I'll ask, is there anything we can do to change it? What is it that you tried? So we won't spin our wheels and try the same thing over and over. And yeah, sometimes you need to pivot 5 times a month for certain things. We do what we need to do. Sometimes we have clients who are not cooperating with sending us the documents. I can't hold the paralegal responsible when the client doesn't communicate for 6 weeks in a row. They are not going to meet their service level agreement.
Correct.
The number, they're not going to send that case out in the 3 weeks that we told the client because the client's MIA. Okay.
Right.
So
There's exceptions.
there are exceptions, but overall, they need to meet a certain percentage of that SLA no matter what. That means if they need to contact the client 3 times a day, they're going to contact the client 3 times a day. So to my clients, if you don't want those calls, I'm joking.
Return the call.
Return the calls. But yeah, they need to report the numbers to us. We don't ask them to, hey, I haven't gotten your numbers this week. Do you mind sending them to me?
Right.
No. They need to report because they can't get better unless they track their own performance. Okay? Mistakes happen. Was that mistake on purpose?
Right.
We are human. Was that an oversight? Was that because you didn't want to deal with the client, in which case we might look at the client relationship? Was that because you are not the right person to work on that client file with that particular client? And sometimes the personalities don't agree, and that's okay. But unless you guys tell me, I don't know, right?
So open
We
communication
need to
is
support the team.
Right.
The team does not work in a vacuum, okay? They are human. They have feelings. They have lives. They get sick. They have families. Come on, man.
Right.
You know, they're going to give you what you give them.
That's
it. That's all there is to it. If you don't respect your team, they're not going to respect you. If you are treating them like they are disposable because you can get somebody for 50 cents cheaper in another country, then they're not going to stay long. Okay? we have a team that it's not just all in the United States. They know, the team in the United States knows that those people abroad are also making a very good living comparable to theirs in the United States, but in their country.
Mhm.
They need to know that. And if
And that they're an equal.
it's an equal
Correct.
relationship.
Correct.
It's very equal relationship.
Yes.
And every single one, for example, that's on my legal team, they're all attorneys. Foreign attorneys. They have the critical thinking skills.
Mhm.
They have. So they're all people.
Yeah. That's great. I'm building a team. So I've got 3. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily like the best boss. Like I don't think I'm a good leader. I need to learn.
Process.
I need to learn how to lead. What would be your number one piece of advice for someone that's new in this role of leading a team and leading people and doing all this? It's all new. And I think it's because I also don't have any children. Because I think like as a mom, like you lead a child. You're forming them, you're educating them,
Okay,
you're
but how
supporting
are you forming them? Based on what?
actions.
Okay, and how they should act and how they should be doing certain things is based on your own belief on how things should be. Basically, you're teaching them right and wrong, right?
Mhm.
Okay, it's very similar in a firm. You need to create the culture in that firm where they are not afraid to speak up. They are not afraid to confess to a mistake.
Mhm.
They are not afraid to come to you and say,
Oops.
okay?
A team
Where
player.
team player, they know who their resources are on the team. If somebody's out, we never have a situation, for example, where we have somebody out coming back to a full mailbox because everybody takes care of that mailbox while that person is out. They are never coming back with the panic, oh my God, it's going to take me 3 days to catch up. That's never going to happen. But
That's good. That's important.
yeah, but you need to have the culture in which you respect your team, they respect each other, they respect the clients, and that you have your team's back.
Mhm.
The client is not always right.
Mhm.
There are so many firms and so many people that are saying, oh, the client is always right. Hell no.
Before we started recording, we were having conversations about that and how I'm super overprotective of some of my team, and I feel that way too. I will, and people could. I think I have a higher tolerance to like the mistreatment from a client, but not my team. No.
But your team is not being paid to be mistreated.
Correct.
They are human.
Mhm.
They deserve the same respect as me, because I have heard conversations in which clients are obnoxious, for lack of a better term, with the team. Meanwhile, they are the nicest with me.
Right.
And I do play the recording back to the client and say that is not acceptable. I fire clients if that's the case.
Mhm.
There is no
Yeah.
such thing. If you
And that- and-
expect me to respect you, I expect you to respect my team.
Right. And that solidifies the relationship of your team when they know that you're willing to, fire. It's not just words, it's actions. It's actions.
I have terminated people on my team when they lied to me
Mhm.
or they tried to hide things because they were afraid to speak up. And I asked them why they were afraid to speak up, and it had nothing to do with us or the culture. That's the way they were, okay? And I can't have that.
Mhm.
And whenever I terminate an employee like that, immediately you feel the
relief.
energy on the team and the relief
Mhm.
on the team because they knew it wasn't the right fit.
I was going to say the team knew before you did.
They knew it before they did, but they will never come and tell me.
Right.
Not because they don't want to throw somebody under the
Correct.
bus unless it affects the work.
Mhm.
And if it affects their work, all bets are off. Everybody will talk.
Right.
So
I know I said that was my last question, but I got to ask the TikTok question.
what about the TikTok question?
Tell people about your success on TikTok.
Oh, I don't know.
How did you do it?
I had a couple of videos that went viral.
Was it during COVID or
I
before?
started TikTok after COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I started 2021.
Yeah, I got on TikTok after COVID.
You got on TikTok after me.
Yeah, way after. It's because of you. It's because of your presentation.
But yeah, I started doing content. I started putting content out there, frequently asked questions, generally, sometimes puzzling questions from clients and dispelling some myths sometimes. But I had a couple of videos that went viral. I'm up to like 45,000 subscribers, but it's been stagnant for a while. But because mostly one, I haven't put too much content out there. Put content out there. Reminder, Connie, please put
Yeah.
content out there. And second, I think the audience has shifted as well a little bit. They use TikTok for different purposes rather than education. And now with the elections coming, it's
Right.
very political, so I'm staying away.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
am not on it. And
But there's a lesson that I know you already have it covered, but it's that, right? Like TikTok, it served its purpose for you and your business.
and then you shift.
But even without the full shift, you had the other avenues covered. You
Yes.
had other, whether it's SEO, mailers, YouTube, whatever it is. You can't just do one thing.
You do one thing and Google changes the algorithm, then what?
You can't do one thing online. That's for sure, because you don't control any
I
of it.
talked to an attorney 2 months ago, summertime. We met. It was at the beach. Nice beach. But we met with the attorney and she's like, I get all my clients from two referral sources. Okay, tell me who they are. And they told me who those referral sources were. And one of them is a 72-year-old attorney. I'm like, what are you going to do when that person dies?
Yeah.
No joke.
Right.
How much of your business comes from that one attorney? Does he have associates? Yes, he does. Do the associates send you work? No. He's the only one. Okay. So when he's gone, how much of your business is going away?
With him.
I swear bells went off in their minds. They never thought about it because it's been such a long-term relationship. They haven't considered that. This person still works, and I happen to know the person still works because they love what they do. We are all aging. At some point, you could have an accident. You could say, I'm done. I don't want it anymore, and I'm done. All it takes is one client, right? And how do you put 50% of your business into one source and not looking at other? Like your investment portfolio, you have to diversify.
You have to do a little bit of everything. I can talk to you forever.
Oh, me too.
This was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're definitely going to come back for a round 2 because it's so fascinating. Your perspective on this stuff is so, it's just so fascinating. You know so much, you share so much, you're so passionate about helping. I love this. And so thank you.
My pleasure.
Not only for coming, but also for helping me grow my business. And thank you for being so supportive of me and for being my friend.
Aww.
I appreciate you.
No gatekeeping here.
I love that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
ClearHorizonsLegalSolutions.com, 954-357-0957. Connie Kaplan, attorney online. And do not go with those impersonating me because there are a few.
Oh gosh, I'll leave all her information in the show notes on YouTube, and you'll be tagged on all the socials. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.